Today's speech is going to be over how to smoke a Boston butt. Many people today try to come up with many ways to enhance the flavor of meats. And in 1939, a device called the Tory kiln was invented in Scotland just to do that. This allowed for the mass smoking of meat and began a new era for cooking meat. I want to inform you all today the history and process of smoking a Boston butt in an electric smoker. First, we're going to talk about the history of smoking meat. Then we will discuss the many types of the smokers that a person can choose from. And finally, we will learn the process of smoking a Boston butt. I have always eaten meat and tried to think of different ways to enhance the taste of the meat. So we know that the actual modern smoker was invented in 1939, but what about the caveman era? What did they do? First off, let's look at the history of smoking meat and talk about how it has evolved over the last few centuries. Smoking meat dates back all the way to the primitive caveman time. Cavemen came up with this idea from hanging meat, and when the meat would come in contact with the smoke, it would make it taste better. One downside to that was the caves or the huts had no chimneys, and they would become extremely smoky. As the years passed, smoking meat became more of a flavor to the meat, and less salt was used. In addition, a frosty month, especially December, was the proper time for pig butchering, salting, and smoking. It's a tradition documented to medieval times. There are a few basic types of smokers and designs. They all come with their advantages and disadvantages. One of the simplest types of smokers is the charcoal smoker. There are usually a cylinder shape with a shorter, smaller diameter cylinder attached to the bottom of one end for the firebox. One has to light a small fire in the firebox where the airflow is tightly controlled. The smoke and heat is drawn from a small pipe up to the meat and adds the flavor to the meat. Most think of a barbecue smoker. The next type is a propane smoker. This is where you can control the temperature of the meat more manually. There is a gas burner generally under a steel box containing wood chips or charcoal, and that provides the smoke. There are few vent hose, and this starves the heat of oxygen, making the fire smoky instead of burning. This method uses less wood, but the downfall to this method is the price of propane. In modern days, the price of propane has went up extremely, making the process more costly. The last type is an electric smoker. This one is more modern day and very convenient. Most people would choose this smoker because of the convenient factor, but some like the feel and taste of the old day charcoal smoker. This type lets a person cook a really good meat with little or no knowledge and can be almost completely unattended. So one can finish other duties while the meat cooks. Another convenient feature to this smoker is that most come with a temperature control, which allows you to keep the meat at the 220 to 230 degrees that it's supposed to stay at. These are also excellent if you live in an area where you cannot have open flame or if you live in an apartment. Now that we have all this information in mind, we can go through the steps of actually smoking a Boston butt. There are many different ways to do this, but in my opinion, this is the best way to get the meat nice and juicy. First, you're going to need to prepare your meat. This means using seasonings, tenderizers for the meat. For me, I like to use a few different types. I use brown sugar, salt, pepper, onion powder to give a little kick, cayenne pepper, and barbecue sauce to make it a rub. Now you have to prepare your smoker for the meat. You will need to first fill the water pan to about 2/3 full with water. But I like to use apple juice just to give it a little more flavor. Now you are ready for your wood chips. Let them soak in water for about an hour, then drain your wood chips and set them on tinfoil mounted in the middle. You will need to fold the sides of them to form a pouch. Poke the top of the pouch to let the flavor escape when being smoked. You will now need to plug in your smoker and adjust the heat to 225. You will now need to let your butt sit at room temperature for about 30 minutes. Now you will need to put the butt and the wood packets in the smoker. The internal temperatures need to reach at least 190 degrees. And this usually takes about 14 hours. Once your butt is done, remove the smoker and let it set for about 20 minutes and it is ready to serve. Today we have learned about smoking the Boston butt. We learned about its history, the types of smokers, the process of smoking Boston butt. The Boston butt got its name from the way the hog shoulder was cut in the Boston area and became known as this region as the Boston butt. The name stuck and today is called that almost everywhere in the U.S. except Boston.